was popular during the time Millicent Armstrong was on the Western Front. And its melancholy words and music, though in a major key, capture the essence of homesickness. It reminds us of the tremendous distances our soldiers, nurses, war correspondents and others travelled to participate in the war to end all wars. It reminds us of the great distances separating people even now, living as we do down under, with so many friends and relos a long way away. It reminds me of the long journey an artist takes in developing their ideas and their craft and in finding an audience. Through this project, we want to find an audience for Millicent Armstrong's work. I stumbled upon Millicent Armstrong on Wikipedia when researching Gunning as a possible place to purchase a home. I was amazed to find there had been a playwright living on a property near Gunning in the first half of the 20th century. Living on a soldier settler block, having been a volunteer nurse on the Western Front, having been awarded the Croix de Guerre, then running a property whilst writing plays that were published and performed and awarded. Other places you'll find out more info about Millicent and her family include a listing in the Australian Dictionary of Biography and the book Irish Enough to Be Sure by Coralie Petty. And academics at the University of New England who have been assisting in the digitisation of Armstrong's works kindly sent me a copy of a 1991 honours thesis by Nerida Jackson. You will also learn about Millicent in the book Not for Glory by Susan Newhouse and Sharon Maskell-Dare. Let me read a little excerpt. Millicent had graduated from Sydney University with a Bachelor of Arts and first-class honours degree in English. Writing her own material and creating her own props, she put on pantomimes, melodramas and variety shows, offering a brief escape from trauma and the horrors of war. Millicent's concerts invariably ended with a gramophone rendering of the Marseillaise and a rousing reply of God Save the King. As a result of her actions in the face of the advancing German offensive, she was awarded the Croix de Guerre, France's highest honour, for her bravery in rescuing wounded soldiers while under fire. The big question I must ask is, why don't we know more about people like Millicent Armstrong? Why has history served them so poorly? Characters: Joe, a selector, Ellie, his wife. Scene: they're holding on the Bogan River, Western New South Wales. Period: the Great Drought of 1902. The living room of a bush shanty built of rough slabs, the cracks between them filled with baked mud. At the back of the stage is a window with a dark blanket pinned across it against the heat. Beside it, closed, a big door, reminiscent of a stable. The light is dim and sullen, yet sufficient to reveal the poor beginnings of a home. A few stiff portraits of friends and relatives in their Sunday best adorn the walls. There is a much enlarged photograph of Joe and Ellie, taken on their wedding day, a framed picture of Queen Victoria, and a coloured supplement of the Marcus Stone variety. To the left is a great empty fireplace, and to the right, shelves filled with odd china, pots, boxes, and general litter. To the right also, backstage, is a door leading to a bedroom. There is a third door, front left. A deal table and some chairs occupy the centre. Ellie is moving about the room, preparing tea. The heat is evidently exhausting. She is a limp, thin, bedraggled woman, pale and heavy-eyed, with dull fair hair pulled back from her forehead and twisted up in an untidy knot. In spite of her youth, unutterable weariness and spent effort are expressed in every line and movement. Her appearance presents a pitiful contrast to that of the crimped, smug bride in the portrait. She puts cups and plates on the table and presently sets in the centre a big jug, with the handle off, containing some young gum leaves, which decoration she touches and turns with lingering hands. A moment later, the door at the back of the stage is flung open, admitting a sudden, blinding glare of yellowish sunlight, and a man slouches in. The location of the play's Drought and At Dusk would be a hut just like this. In these plays, Millicent Armstrong captures the details of those who lived in rural Australia in these modest surrounds with cinematic detail. In these two plays, Millicent Armstrong does not shy away from the darker side of a life lived at the edges of society, forging a modest life in the toughest of circumstances. No romantic bush idyll. Isn't this little cottage beautifully preserved? It's called Pie Cottage and it's just down the road from my house in Gunning. I'm breaking ISO to film this. Don't tell anyone, but it's my job and these stories aren't going to tell themselves.